and then the next experiment is the John Senden lag move. It's a move used by Webb Simpson, even Ben Hogan, to create a tremendous amount of lag in their golf swing, which translates into tremendous power. As we've talked about, lag is the angle formed as you're coming into the ball. As your hands reach the ball, is the club head pointing up, and will it unleash like a nunchuck and whip? Or have you already lost your angle and coming into the ball like that, where there really isn't any power? One way people like John Senden and Webb Simpson get this lag is by being very, very loose with the arms and wrists, like noodles. Like you just have to move the club with ropes. There's no arm muscles. When they get the club back, they move their body forward first, and as the club is still moving back to a degree. So if the club is still moving back and my arms are very, very loose, if I turn quickly, I create a tremendous angle, tremendous angle. Ben Hogan used to do the same thing. His swing was more flat. And as his club would come here, he would turn and his wrist would be loose, and there would be a tremendous, tremendous angle formed between the club and his arms that he'd bring down into the ball. The way to get that is to move the body forward while everything back here is like basically overcooked pasta. Loose, like ropes, no muscles whatsoever. It's just the whip that brings it through last and creates the lag. The next experiment is what to do with your right elbow during your swing. And again, we just want to pause here for a second, and we're not saying to adopt all of these things. Most of you shouldn't adopt any of them. Some of you will find one or two of the experiments to be very, very beneficial. It's going to be up to you to decide which ones. We're not saying to adopt all of these moves. That would be impossible. And this is a good example in this one. What to do with your right elbow. If your right elbow in the backswing is in the proper position, well, there's nothing to do with it. Maybe it's in great position and it's working well for you. However, for others, you can try the Freddie Couples fly the elbow. Someone named Jack Nicklaus used to fly the elbow and it worked out pretty well for him. Or you could try the Davis Love carry the tray elbow, both of which are very powerful. However, they need to be mastered or your accuracy will suffer. So first, the classic is the Davis Love. Great separation on the takeaway with the right arm, great flexibility. It's almost hard for me to do as I show you. I don't know how Davis Love gets into the position. It's like carrying a tray if you're a waiter. Full tray of plates. The elbow gets up here, thump, and there's tremendous power from here coming into the ball. Okay? The second is the Freddie Couples flying elbow. Comes back, and when you fly the elbow back, like John Daly, the club kind of has to cross the line and point out that way a bit. Not that much, of course. But flying the elbow can be very powerful if you then let the club drop and whip the club through using momentum, not arm muscles. You don't come up here and fire the arm down hard. Absolutely not. You fly the elbow, let the club drop behind you, and then you can fire the arm, but only when you're about here, never on the way down. Try both of those. You might like one of them. The next experiment is the layoff. We have a whole chapter or chamber dedicated to whether you should use the layoff or a full shoulder turn in your golf swing. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. In summary, but the layoff is so effective, it's worth trying again if you didn't give it enough time earlier and there's something missing a little bit from your swing. So basically the layoff means instead of just going classically back and then classically through, you take the club back or a little bit outside, comes up, and it loops behind your back as you swing down. It drops into position. So it's like a big, kind of like a figure eight. It goes out and loops around. I'm just overemphasizing it so you can see it. If you utilize the layoff, it should be much more subtle. It should be something like this, back, and then a little drop behind the back as you come into your swing. You might want to try it again. Now, here's what's confusing. Pros are always trying to get rid of their layoff. Rory McIlroy probably spent the last few months trying to get rid of the small layoff in his swing. Look, we're not pros. There are tremendous advantages to using a layoff swing as an amateur. Maybe it'll cost you if you're at Augusta. We're not going to be at Augusta. Try the layoff and you might like it. The next experiment is the bowed wrist versus the cup wrist. And basically in this experiment we are going to try to bow the wrist a bit. Now this will screw up a lot of people. Try it. Only 1 out of 50 of you will really probably like it and adopt it. Also, like we've talked about, if you bow your wrist, if you cup your wrist, that's not as bad as people say it is. There's nothing wrong with that. People have won the Masters with cupped wrists. So basically, most amateurs in their backswing, their wrist will not be perfectly flat like it should be in a textbook. Everything along here flat with the arm. That's textbook golf. We don't play textbook golf at Kung Fu Golf. We do what the body wants to do naturally. So many amateurs, including myself, will be up here, I'm going to overemphasize it, with a cup. Now, that is not the disaster that people say it is. You can find a way in your downswing to put that club in the right spot. For the purpose of this experiment, we're going to try to make sure the wrist is completely flat or bowed. So YouTube Dustin Johnson. Club comes back. And as we come down into the ball, we're going to think of trying to bow the wrist down as you come into the ball. You might have to adjust your grip a bit. If you bow the wrist down, you could be in a different position here than you're used to. So adjust your grip accordingly. Club comes up, and as you move into the ball, think of bowing the wrist and keeping it bowed as you hit through the ball. This was made famous by Ben Hogan. The secret, the Ben Hogan secret, the legend and lore of his basic secret, or the mystery that he withheld from his book 5 Lessons, was that Hogan would take the club back with a flat or slightly cupped wrist, and then as he swung, he bowed it into the ball for a tremendous level of power and a tremendous ability to hit the ball solidly and accurately.